Hi guys, I'm Sheen.
I'm Johnny.
So we're just two guys, two friends that decided to start a podcast. It's called Thinking Harder or Think Harder. We're not experts. We just like to discuss topics, things that are going around in society, in the news. We're not journalists. We just like to get together and talk about topics, then debate topics, and just encourage people to think about things and not just take one point of view. Open your minds and basically think harder about subjects.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about capitalism mostly, kind of like capitalism versus socialism, and just get our opinions on it. And also, we'd like to get feedback from you guys. So feel free to comment below after you hear our conversation.
All right.
All right. All right. Let me ask you. So, what's your general opinion about capitalism?
So we are in a capitalist economy.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a capitalist economy, so I think capitalism is great. But there's just like everything, there's good and bad.
Mm-hmm. So, what are the bad things? I think what are the bad things you think we are facing today?
Well, I mean, I think capitalism, when it's first, when any economy, any country first starts out, it starts out small and everything's good. But when things start growing and, companies, corporations get bigger, country gets bigger,
Mm-hmm.
it gets more complicated and there's more bureaucracy and there's more money going to the wrong places and to the wrong hands.
Mm-hmm.
And so like capitalism and the idea is great. And when you first start, it's fine. You have an idea, you start a company,
Mm-hmm.
people like what you do, and then you grow from there. And the idea is that in capitalism, if you have the best idea, you're able to get people to like that idea and you're able to grow. And if somebody else has a better idea, they have competition. They could compete with you.
Yeah.
But what I think happens in today's capitalism and today's economy is that companies have gotten so big that they have too much power, and that kind of defeats the whole idea of capitalism. The whole idea of capitalism is to have competition, and when companies get so big that they could lobby the government and and put their money into having lawmakers making laws in their benefit, it kind of destroys the whole fabric of what capitalism is supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be competition.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. I feel like we don't have a competition, especially in healthcare. I feel like a lot of the cost and everything is just hidden. It's not like you're going out there shopping for the best thing out there.
Right.
I think the biggest problem that a lot of people brings out is the pay between a CEO and versus the just the general worker. There's a huge gap. Why do you think that is? Is it really capitalism, or is greed? I mean, what do you think the problem is?
Yeah, I think in capitalism and socialism you have that problem. Once like a company gets so big, the people at the top generally become more greedy, and it just, the company just gets so big, the corporation gets so big, they kind of lose focus on what they started as.
Yeah, so that's like I think greed is a huge problem, and I feel like a lot of religious institutions in the past have talked about that. When you have go to church, mosque, or temple, they always talk about greed. Greed is a big sin. So I feel like as we're getting away from religion itself, I guess religion has become more about like a tribalism rather than somewhere you go out there, you learn about morality, etc. So I do feel like it's this is something as a society we need to learn a lot more about greed. And if there's fair competition, I feel like you shouldn't have like a really big company. Eventually there should be company failing. I feel like sometimes our government doesn't allow certain companies to fail because they have, bought into it.
Right. Well, that's what happened,
Yeah.
with the bailout, with the automotive bailout, the automotive industry and the
Yeah.
banking industry, and that's pure socialism right there.
Yeah.
I mean,
But to be honest, if we, I mean, would you be? There would be chaos if they didn't
Right.
bail him out. I feel like, I mean, we all
And-
have money in our banks, right? I mean,
right, but that's what happens when.
yeah.
So the whole idea of capitalism is that you have competition,
Mhm.
and capitalism is against monopolies. So our government, you
Yeah.
know, we as United States, citizens, we're against monopolies. When a company gets X amount big,
Yeah.
the government says, okay, hold on, we have to do something. We have to break up this monopoly.
Yeah.
But some of these corporations are getting so big and so powerful
Mhm.
that they can lobby the government and do things that they want to do versus what the government or the people want them to do. And so like banks that get so big
Mhm.
that they have so much money, and when they do stupid things, when they make stupid investments and they fail, capitalism says you did something stupid, you failed, you go away, and somebody else is going to take over and do a better job.
Yeah.
That's true capitalism. But that didn't happen in 2008. What happened was the banks were so big, they were allowed to get so big by the government.
Mhm.
They were allowed to run out of control and do things that they shouldn't have done,
Yeah.
and they screwed up, and the government said, oh crap, you're too big and we can't let you fail.
Yeah.
So that is this total destruction of what capitalism is supposed to be.
I mean, you're too big to fail. It kind of, I mean, as a citizen of the country, though, I mean, your money is in the bank. So if you let those bank fail, I feel like you're letting the people fail. So I
Right,
mean,
and right, and that was the dilemma, right?
Yeah.
That was the dilemma. It was
Yeah.
you're too big to fail. But my issue is they should have never been allowed to get so big.
yeah. Well, at that time, I think Obama was president, right? Like he just took off the office. I mean, you can't just let a bank fail and then it'll be a chaos.
Right. I mean, he
as a politician, you don't have that option.
well, yeah, he didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is our society in general
Yeah.
has allowed corporations to become so big,
Yeah.
and that goes against the whole idea of what capitalism is. You're
So
supposed to
how do you
break
fix
up-
it now? Like it's already there. It's already too big. And how do you fix it? Yeah.
Well, I mean, some corporations, have to be broken up into smaller corporations.
But how do you do that? I mean, you can't just tell a company, "Hey, you know what? You're
Oh
really
yeah,
big," and
I think you can. Yeah, because I mean, like mergers have to be mergers of corporations have to be approved by the government. Like AT&T can't just say, okay, well, AT&T, I'm going to buy Sprint and Verizon right now.
Yeah.
The government has to approve of that.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, a lot of issues with tech companies now. It's like Facebook is a huge, corporation now, right?
Yeah.
And now all they do is buy up smaller companies. So they buy Instagram, they buy all these other small companies. Same thing with Apple, same thing with Amazon. And so if you're a company that's trying to compete with Apple, compete with Amazon,
Yeah.
you can't, because they will just buy you out, and if that's allowed, then that defeats the whole purpose of capitalism.
I kind of wonder though
competition.
if those small companies have no choice but let them be bought out. Maybe they would have been failing if Google didn't buy them. Then that's it. They could not survive on their own. They could not compete with Google.
Well, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they So that's the issue, is they can't compete.
Yeah.
And so and I mean, I guess the argument would be like you could just say no to Google
Yeah.
and not take the money.
I mean, why would you
but-
do that? I mean,
Well-
your company's about to fail, and
Well,
this is your chance. I mean, hey, Google's about to buy us out. I mean, we're saved. We can save jobs. We can save.
Well, when that happens, I'm not sure how many of the original company, with original people from that company
Yeah.
stays on. When Google comes over, I mean, Google has their own people. They'll probably say, well, we don't need you. We have our whole team.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times they buy the company out,
Yeah.
are just not allow the company to compete, just to take their technology or
Yeah.
take what they innovated, and then the company itself is obsolete. They just take the technology, or if it's a technology that they see as threatening them,
Yeah.
they'll take the technology and just not let it evolve. I mean, it's kind of like the electric vehicle. You know, the
Mhm.
electric vehicle. I mean, electricity has been around for the longest time,
Yeah.
and when electricity was created or was invented, you know, everything was electric. Everyone was going crazy. Oh yeah, it's electric. So obviously, the most logical thing would be electrical automobile, but the oil company has been able to push that back through lobbying. So
Yeah.
so I mean, the electric car should have been something that we have been had for a long time, but
Yeah.
oil companies have been able to lobby the government to stop that type of technology. So even though
I keep hearing that, but I don't know how true that is. Like I haven't done my own research. I don't know how. I think it's kind of easy to make that connection.
Mhm.
Oh, oil company. And to me, like, why not the oil company create the electric vehicle? If they know, like, hey, electricity is, electric cars are a new future. We should invest on it. Maybe they do. I'm not sure.
Well, oil companies
Yeah.
have. If you do that, you're just cannibalizing your own market.
It's not like, I mean, it's like adapting to what's gonna come. I think electric car is the future, like it or not.
Well, I mean,
And so if you're that powerful of a company, it's just something you should be investing. I mean, you should be investing.
well, a oil company is not going to be interested in. I mean, just take coal for example. It's
Yeah.
like saying a coal company is going to invest in solar. They're not. A coal
Yeah.
company is going to fight for their coal, and that's what they invested in. That's what their shareholders
Yeah.
are making their money from. So they're not going to cannibalize their own market,
Yeah. I mean, that's a fair point.
right?
But at the same time, I feel like they are the one that has a lot of research. It's hard to start up from ground up.
Mm-hmm.
A coal company or a gas company that's already successful, they have a lot of wealth, a lot of, they could easily invest it and take that market.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the whole thing about, like, Tesla is probably the most successful electric car company right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're so successful because they started from scratch with pure electric. And like GM, Toyota, Honda, if they wanted to move to electric, they would have to cannibalize their own market.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you buy electric, a electric Toyota car, a full electric Toyota car, which it doesn't exist, they don't make 100% electric. I don't think they do.
I think they do now. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, we had to research.
I mean, I think they definitely have hybrids, but I don't think they have pure 100% electric.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
And so, I mean, why don't they? I mean, that's clearly the market now, but they don't because their shareholders are making money off of their combustion engine,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're not. It's hard for them to transition because their shareholders are making money off of their cars now,
Yeah.
and so if you transition, you have to invest so much money into the technology, into the batteries, into the manufacturing process, and you would be taking that money out of your regular market. So it's really hard for them to transition. That's why it's so easy for Tesla, because they didn't have to transition. They said, we're going to do it, and we're going to start from scratch doing it that way.
I think the biggest problem with electric car is the battery. If with Tesla, like, you're limited to how many miles you can drive, and then after that to charge it, which I didn't realize it takes hours.
It's getting better. It's getting better. No,
so until we figure that problem out, I think you'll see, like, I can see a lot of vehicles are just taking over.
So so Tesla has a whole network. We're getting off topic a little way.
Oh yeah.
But Tesla has a whole network.
Yeah.
I mean, we could bring up the Tesla supercharger map.
Yeah.
They have a whole network of superchargers. Basically, they're like gas stations, and you could charge your Tesla in. It's still longer than filling up a tank.
Yeah.
But it's depending on which vehicle you have, how big of a battery you have, and how much charge it has. You could charge a Tesla in 30 to 40 minutes.
Still 30 to 40 minutes. I mean, you can get gas in 5 minutes.
Less. So obviously,
yeah,
it's not the same.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could go coast to coast in a Tesla, and it's completely possible. Like, people do it all the time. Drive from East Coast to West Coast, and you. I mean, then all the Tesla stations are are on the interstate,
Yeah.
and they're at locations that normally people would stop.
All right.
But
Anyway,
yeah,
back to
anyways.
the topic, capitalism we're talking about. So, what do you
Right.
think is better? I mean, what's out there is you think is better than what capitalism provides? Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's no country. I mean, everybody says, "Oh, United States, we're a capitalist economy."
Yeah.
We know that's what we are. But when you actually think about it, we have a lot of aspects of socialism in our own economy,
Mm-hmm.
and all the people that don't like socialism, they really like it when it's time for them to get the socialism benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people are retiring. I mean, I know people that are, at the retirement age, close to the retirement age, are like, oh, I'm gonna get my Social Security.
Yeah.
I love that, right?
Yeah.
But when they're younger, they're like, oh yeah, Social Security, you're taking my money. But when you're retiring and you're gonna get it, oh, everyone loves it then. When you're retiring and you're gonna get Medicare and get your
What about this
insurance.
argument? What about this argument? Instead of government taking a certain portion of your paycheck for Social Security, you keep that money and you on your own invest on free market.
Right. So
Why not do that? In some cases, you can get more money when you retire through a private or through.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely a good idea. I think the issue is that most people are not that disciplined to do that.
Yeah. Well,
and so that I think that was one of the reasons
Yeah.
I believe socialism. Social Security was created is
Yeah.
because we don't, as a country, we don't want our older generation just to be out of a job
Yeah.
and don't have any money.
Yeah.
So the government was like, okay, we're going to take money out of your check for your own good. You don't
Yeah.
know it now,
Yeah.
but when you're retired and you have no money and you have no income and you can't do your job that you used to do,
Yeah.
at least you have something. And so like people are
Yeah.
like, well, I'm really happy the government did that, but but there are people that are smart with their money and they invest, and they see it as like the government is taking my money and I'm not going to get the benefit of it because I could have.
Yeah. What about this
choice.
argument too? It's like by the time you're 65, I don't know what the average death rate is, but a lot of people will be dead by then. So you pay basically Social Security your whole life. You turn 65,
Right.
66, and then all of a sudden you're dead.
Yeah, and it's not like you could pass that on to your kids. It's the government's money there,
So
right?
some people look at it as a way government just taxing you, and it's not like they're taking that money and putting in a nice account somewhere.
Mhm.
They're spending it,
Right.
And a lot of the Social Security is like I owe you,
Right.
It's like it's not physically there. The money's not physically there. If younger people stop working, then all of a sudden, you wouldn't have Social Security.
Yeah, the whole system would just collapse.
So do you trust the government? How do you know if you have irresponsible government officials, let's just say for 10 years, whatever, and they totally screw it up, and then everybody loses their Social Security, all the people they paid up. But if you have it on your own, then if the money was your own and then you could invest it, you'd be responsible for it.
Right. Yeah, and that would be great for people that are responsible with their money, but I think a lot of people kind of realize that most people are living paycheck to paycheck, and so they don't even have any money to invest. And if they did, most people do not have that extra money to invest. So
that's my thing. I feel like the biggest problem now is just the wage should be a lot higher. I think that's what it comes down to. If you already had a good income, higher wage, I don't think there'll be no question. Like I think capitalism took people out of poverty in a great amount.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, but the issue of today is just the wage is being so low compared to what the CEO is making versus what the average worker is making.
Right.
So my problem is how do you fix that? I mean, do you tax the hell out of the CEOs, or do you make a law? This is how much you should be paying, which kind of goes against the free market.
Well, I think it depends on what kind of corporation it is. I mean, if you're a CEO of a company that makes a luxury item, makes a yacht.
Yeah.
I mean, make as much money as you want, because you're making something that's not needed. But if you're a CEO of healthcare corporation, I mean,
Yeah.
that's people's lives, that's people's health. So that's not a luxury item.
Yeah.
So it should be different for different corporations. But anyways, the whole thing is, I want people to think harder about, is your country really just capitalist? And our country is not. We have a lot of elements of socialism,
Yeah.
and people dislike socialism, but they really like it when they're about to get their benefits.
I mean, I think that's what the issue is. I feel like it's a lot of the social programs are designed for people with certain income, especially low income. And some other people are like, you make a certain amount, all of a sudden you don't qualify for those benefits.
Well, I mean, even people that make a decent amount of money,
Yeah.
I mean, I think when they're hitting their retirement age, they love getting the Medicare.
Yeah.
They're it doesn't matter who you are in this country, you're paying a lot of money for insurance, and once
Yeah.
you hit your age, you're really happy to get that Medicare, that beautiful socialist program.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. A lot of people loves that, no matter what your policy is. But I think still Medicare doesn't completely 100% covers it. You still have to get the supplement. I think you have that option.
Yeah, and
but still, it's pretty cheap.
And then, I mean, that's what Bernie Sanders is trying to change. Medicare will cover more, right?
Yeah.
Cover hearing and vision, and I mean, if it's healthcare, it should cover everything. It's your health, right?
Yeah.
What kind of healthcare says, oh, we're going to cover your heart, but we're not going to cover your eyes?
I think the question is, the healthcare, is it a right or is it a luxury? And surprisingly, a lot of people in this country still think it's a luxury.
Right.
Everyone should have healthcare.
Right.
I think there was like a debate between Bernie Sanders and Ted Cruz, the senator from Texas. And I was looking at some of the comments, and surprisingly, there's a lot of people on YouTube that are commenting, yeah, healthcare should be a luxury. It's not a right. It's not a God-given right.
Mm-hmm.
That status should they have,
Mm-hmm.
But my biggest thing is, even with healthcare, it's not, it's just the cost of it. I don't think there is a true capitalism in healthcare. Like, all the costs are hidden. You don't know what you're going to be charged at.
Right.
You can't go shop around and get the best doctors, get the best equipment, or the cheapest equipment. You don't have that freedom. It's like you go in there, they do all this stuff, and you have no clue, and then next thing you know, you got $100,000 bill.
Right.
So to me, that's not really capitalism. And a true capitalistic healthcare should be, what you're going to be charged.
Then you could shop around, right?
You could shop around. So it's just from the bottom up. Even in a true capitalistic world, I mean, do you really? People should have the option. I want to go to a certified person or licensed person versus non-certified person. In a true capitalistic world, like you shop around. It's like, hey, I know this guy. He's not certified, but he fixed so and so, and he did a great job. I'm gonna go try him.
Right.
And there shouldn't be any laws and regulations saying no, you can't.
Right. Well, some of those regulations are, trying to keep the people safe and going to uncertified people, but I mean, I just want people to think, like, I get the biggest contrast in the United States would be China, right? China is a communist regime, and they're socialist,
mm-hmm.
but in a lot of ways they're becoming more capitalist than the United States.
In what ways?
Well, I mean, in China, there's no such thing like as a like Social Security, and like if you don't have money,
mm-hmm.
The government's not really going to help you. There's all these social programs that we have in the United States, that doesn't exist in China.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you don't have money, you don't work hard, then you have to figure it out. There's no food stamps. There's no free lunch in school.
Yeah.
There's none of that, right? So in a lot of ways, they're more capitalist than we are. In a lot of ways, we're more socialist than they are.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different amounts of socialism and capitalism in every country, and I think as the United States, you should be taking the best of everything that's out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like there shouldn't be like a solid, oh, I am this and this, I don't change it. I feel like you should change with whatever the problem is. If socialism works at this instant, hey, go for socialism. If capitalism works for this instance, hey, go for capitalism. If something's not working, change it.
Right.
I don't think you should really stick to some philosophy or, I mean, you should have some moral ground, like you shouldn't cross. But, yeah, just to have like, okay, this is the only way this can work. I don't think it's smart. I think you have to evolve with time, with problems, no matter what it is. But yeah, I mean, I like the idea of capitalism. I think capitalism is a good thing overall.
Well, I think capitalism has proven itself to be the economy that works best. But
yeah,
I mean, at the same time, no one's really 100% capitalist, and no one's really 100% socialist.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. We'll just give our 2 cents on this topic. Please comment. Any suggestions? Feel free to place a comment.
Yeah, if anything we said that was not true, or feel free to comment on that too. And there's certain things we didn't know answer to, so if you could Google it and let us know, that'd be great too.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Talk to you guys next time.